Hello, welcome to my video presentation for Chapter 1, Strategic Management and Strategic Competitiveness. I've chosen to do the presentation on Starbucks Coffee Company. It's a company that is certainly a good subject. There's a lot of material out there. It's known to a lot of people, and well, it's my day job. I worked there for a few years, so I know a little bit about it. There's a lot written on Starbucks strategy. I can see it was the subject of a lot of students' work in the past. I've referenced Forbes magazine, Time magazine, and Des Moines Register specifically. There were some good articles on strategy. In our first discussion post, we talk about GM and Apple Computer and how they address the needs of their stakeholders from the economic downturn in 2008 to today. That's certainly true for Starbucks. 2008 was a downtime for everyone, including Starbucks. You'll see in the presentation that some specific strategic elements have really paid off for Starbucks. Starbucks is stronger today than it has ever been. So let's just get into it. Thanks. Okay, so as I mentioned, I'll be referencing Forbes, the Des Moines Register, and the business section of Time magazine. This picture is the actual headquarters downtown in Seattle of the Starbucks Support Center. So first of all, what is strategic management? Well, a strategy is the gameplay for the company. It's really any kinds of commitments, decisions, actions, whatever the company is going to do to have strategic competitiveness and earn above average returns. Ideally, the strategy is going to give the company a competitive advantage, something that's going to be hard to reproduce for competitors, but customers are going to really like. Ultimately, that competitiveness or strategic competitiveness is going to be used to create value for that company. So what are Starbucks stakeholders and what is the value? Stakeholders are employees. At Starbucks, employees are referred to as partners. Definitely there's a coffee passion throughout the company, and all employees are issued stock. The customers are meant to be given an elevated experience. The stores are meant to be a third place between work and home. It's meant to be a quality product or a special treat. This gives you a little up. Again, this is all intentional to the strategy. And then, of course, the shareholders themselves, there is a dividend payment right now. There's really strong stock growth. And as I mentioned, all the employees are also shareholders, so there's a good reinforcement. Starbucks is often recognized as one of the most valuable brands in the world. Starbucks also uses innovation and technology. It isn't known as a technology company, but certainly it's a big part of the internal workings as well as the external workings. There's advanced EBS systems all throughout the company, advanced ordering point-of-sale systems that gets product to the stores. But certainly in terms of reaching out to those stakeholders, Starbucks is active on Facebook. You can get the mobile app. Maybe some of you have it. You can actually have your card on there and just show the card on your iPhone or your Android phone and have them pay from that. You'll begin to see beer and wine in more and more stores in the evening. And another good example of innovation was Starbucks launching the Via instant coffee product in 2009. This is right when things were still kind of down. $100 million in sales revenue in the first 10 months. Fewer than 3% of all products launched ever have that kind of success. Of course, Starbucks has a certain advantage in releasing a new product that I'll touch on in a few minutes. All right, as is covered in the chapter, there's a couple of different ways of looking at strategy. One is referred to as the IO, industrial organizational. This has to do with looking at the whole industry. We can apply a 5 forces models talked about in the book: suppliers, buyers, rivalry, product substitutes, or other potential entrants. It kind of reminds me of the old SWOT analysis. Probably some of you had that in other courses. Certainly Starbucks has strategic contracts with business partners for supply chains, very important. It's an agricultural product, so it's something that has to be procured years in advance. It's a high brand loyalty. Starbucks is much larger than any of its nearest coffee house competition, although there are other coffee companies that are really tobacco companies and so on, your Hills Brothers and so on. Product substitutes, is very hard to duplicate the Starbucks experience. Some of you may argue that the specialty coffee shops in Europe and so on are better. They may be, but that's the inspiration for Starbucks. And then as far as I mentioned competitors, it's difficult for competitors to enter this market. Starbucks resource model, this is more looking internally. The employees are really a big part of Starbucks' success as partners. There's a big emphasis on diversity and inclusion. The creative process is very important. And CSR, or corporate social responsibility, is a huge part of Starbucks. I put the little graphic here for the Jobs for USA program, where if you bought one of these wristbands, the proceeds for that money was funded for job creation and microloans in the United States. All right, so what is the competitive advantage for Starbucks? Well, as I mentioned, I think the first thing is size. If you want to start your coffee shop, and in the West Coast here we have shops like Pete's and there's Caribou Coffee and so on, that they really dwarf Starbucks size at this point. Market cap at around 52 billion and revenues around 13 billion. 18,000 retail locations, 140,000 employees just all over the world. And I also do find that quality first is a very important part of Starbucks strategy. I've seen other successful companies certainly put that there. Like in 2008, everyone said, cut out your Starbucks to save your money, but yet people will always come back to a high quality product and they will pay for it. And by the way, you can still just get a cup of coffee for a couple bucks at Starbucks, but if you want to spend $7, you can do. All right, so bottom line, what is Starbucks value? Well, I think a strategy for any successful company is going to be reflected in its financial reporting. Starbucks is a publicly traded company, and I took this from Yahoo Finance. This is a whole history from 1992. You can clearly see that in 2008, Starbucks was way down around $10 a share. It was quite a fall from 40, and today they're trading up around $70 a share. That's a 778% gain on that stock in just those past few years. Overall, of course, Starbucks stock has risen 9,990% since it originated in 1992. So this is definitely indicative of a successful strategy. So where's the takeaway? This is it, and I honestly believe this personally. You will always succeed in business with an effective competitive strategy, even in poor economic times. There's always money to be made out there, and I don't let the economic times get in the way. Starbucks' winning strategy, and I think this is also for all successful companies, involves all the stakeholders, shareholders as well as employees and customers. And competitive advantage has got to be leveraged at every opportunity. You expand your advantages and have them reinforce each other. Starbucks has done all of these things, and I think the proof is in those financial reporting. So I hope you have enjoyed the presentation and have a great semester.